Sound of light snoring. The room is dark, except for a faint blue glow from an alien moon outside the window. The protagonist shifts in his sleep, completely unaware that something is watching him. Silence. Then, the softest creak of the door. A figure enters. Small, delicate footsteps. A deep, shaky inhale, like someone hyping themselves up before a big moment. Zyra, whispering, but way too loud. Human, I am here, for the bonding. The protagonist stirs. Turns over, grumbling. Zyra, whispering, now trying to sound seductive. Do not resist, mate. Let the ritual commence. Silence. Then, she climbs onto the bed, straddling his chest. Her skin is cool, smooth, faintly luminescent. She leans in, her mouth right next to his ear. Zyra sensually. Beep! The protagonist wakes up instantly. Protagonist. What the foo? He flails. Limbs tangled. Zyra gasps, gripping his shoulders to hold him down. Zyra. Shoo! SHHH! It is okay! This is part of the ritual. Protagonist. What ritual? Who the hell, Zyra? Zyra. Yes! I have come to you as foretold. For the sacred, human cuddle mating. Beat. The protagonist stops struggling, blinking at her. He recognizes her, Zyra, the too sweet alien girl from down the hall. Large, glowing eyes. Delicate features. Soft, lavender-tinted skin. She looks like a dream, except for the fact that she's wearing what looks like a sack with glowing goo smeared on her forehead. Protagonist. Zyra, why are you in my bed? Zyra. Because it is time. I have been chosen to perform the human bonding ritual. Your alien roommates have explained everything. I must lay upon you until the sunrise, whispering sweet sounds into your ear to ensure a strong connection. Pause. Protagonist. They told you what? The protagonist sits up fast, sending Zyra toppling onto the bed. She scrambles up quickly, undeterred. Zyra. Do not worry. I have studied the human ways of pleasure. She pulls a small wooden box from behind her back, dramatically opening it. Inside, 3 lit incense sticks, a tiny speaker, and a bottle of some unidentified alien liquid. Protagonist. Oh God. Zyra delicately plucks up one incense stick, waving it in front of him. Zyra. This scent is said to heighten human attraction. It is made from the crushed petals of the Vathi flower and the sweat of a highly aroused glor beast. Protagonist. Did you just say aroused? Zyra, nodding eagerly. Yes. It is very potent. I had to rub it behind my knees for 3 hours to extract enough. Protagonist. Jesus Christ. She places the incense in a small holder, then picks up the speaker. A deep, guttural sound plays from it. Like whale moans, but weirdly aggressive. The protagonist stares in horror. Protagonist. What is that? Zyra. Mating sounds. Very effective for setting the mood. Protagonist. Asterisk. Mood for what? The mood for being stranded at sea? Zyra ignores him, moving on to the bottle of alien liquid. She uncaps it and immediately recoils as smoke rises from the opening. Zyra, coughing, eyes watering. Ah, yes. Very strong. This will prepare your body for mating. She dips a finger in and flicks it at him. It burns. Protagonist. What the hell? Ow, what the? Zyra. Oh. It is working. The protagonist leaps out of bed, fanning his burning chest. Zyra watches with excitement, mistaking his pain for pleasure. Zyra. Oh, I did not realize human males react so intensely. Fascinating. Protagonist. Zyra, What the hell is actually wrong with you? This isn't seduction. This is a goddamn alien exorcism. Zyra. You are resisting. That means you desire the chase. Protagonist. I do not desire the chase. Zyra smiles knowingly, reaching out to stroke his face. Her hands are ice cold. He flinches violently. Zyra softly. Do not fear me, human. I have practiced. She leans in, whispering against his lips in her alien tongue. It sounds like a car alarm. The protagonist physically recoils. Protagonist. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm gonna be sick. Zyra. You are trembling. That means it is working. She scoots closer. He scrambles backward. Protagonist. Asterisk. No, it means I'm dying inside, Zyra, please. She gasps suddenly. Zyra. Oh. Oh. I see now. She slowly looks down. Eyes widening. She points at his crotch. Zyra, whispering, horrified. It is too large. Beat. The protagonist looks down at himself. He is literally just wearing pajama pants. Protagonist. What? Zyra claps her hands together in prayer. Zyra. I will consult the gods. She drops to her knees, chanting. Protagonist. For the love of God, Zyra, stop praying about my dick. The door bursts open. The protagonist's alien roommates fall inside, laughing so hard they can barely breathe. Roommate 1. Bro, oh my god, I can't. Roommate 2. We set her up so good. Zyra gasps. Zyra. Asterisk. You tricked me? Roommate 1. Asterisk. We told you it was a human tradition. You seriously believe that? Zyra outraged. Asterisk. Of course I believed you. Humans do the weirdest things. Why would I question this? The protagonist glares. Protagonist. So this was all a prank? You said Zyra in here to freak me out? Roommate 2. Yup. And it was the best idea we've ever had. The protagonist turns back to Zyra, expecting her to be embarrassed. Instead, she looks disappointed. Zyra. So we are not to mate. Protagonist. No. We are not to mate. Zyra. Oh. I see. She looks genuinely crushed. The protagonist feels a weird twinge of guilt. Protagonist. Zyra, it's not. Look, you're great and all, but I just met you, and you literally electrocuted me 5 minutes ago. Zyra sighing. I suppose that is fair. I will annul the mating contract. Beat. Protagonist. Wait. What contract? Zyra lifts up a glowing document. Zyra. Oh. It seems we have already been bound. My touch has activated the seal. She grins sweetly. Zyra. Husband. The protagonist stares into the camera, dead inside. The protagonist stares at the glowing document in Zyra's hands. His brain refuses to process. Protagonist. Husband? Zyra. Yes. The contract has been sealed through touch. It is an ancient and legally binding ritual among my people. The protagonist slowly looks at his alien roommates. They are collapsing with laughter. Protagonist. You guys knew about this? Roommate 1. Dude. This is the funniest thing that's ever happened in this entire sector. Roommate 2. Oh man, you should have seen your face when she started chanting. Protagonist. This is not funny. I am married. Zyra beams, gently touching his arm. Zyra. Do not worry, mate. I shall be a devoted and affectionate wife. The protagonist jumps back. Protagonist. Stop saying that. Zyra's smile falters. ears drooping slightly. Zyra. You do not wish to be my mate? The protagonist opens his mouth, stops, sees the hurt in her eyes. She looks genuinely sad. He sighs, pinching the bridge of his nose. Protagonist. Zyra, listen. You seem nice, but I barely know you, and I am not ready for alien marriage. Zyra. But you have already been claimed. The contract cannot be undone. Protagonist. What do you mean ID can't be undone? Zyra. Well, it can, but only if one of us perishes. Beat. Protagonist. I'm sorry, what? Zyra. If I die, the bond breaks. If you die, the bond also breaks. That is the only way. The protagonist slowly turns to his roommates. Protagonist. You knew this and you still let her touch me? Roommate 1. To be fair, we thought you'd dodge faster. Roommate 2. Yeah, we underestimated how horrifically slow you are. The protagonist grabs a pillow and throws it at them. Zyra watches, deep in thought. Zyra. Perhaps you will grow to love me. The protagonist groans into his hands. Protagonist. I literally just wanted to sleep tonight. Zyra. We may sleep together. Protagonist. No, we may not. Zyra pouts, but nods solemnly. Zyra. Understood. I will sleep on the floor, as a proper wife must when her husband is displeased. Protagonist. That's not. Jesus, stop calling me that. Zyra. Good night, mate. She lays down on the floor like a corpse. The protagonist buries his face in a pillow. His roommates are still laughing. Roommate number 1. Sweet dreams, hubby. The protagonist throws another pillow. Morning. The protagonist groggily wakes up. His brain remembers last night. His entire soul collapses. Then he realizes something. Zyra is not on the floor anymore. Protagonist. Oh God! The door slams open. Zyra stands there, dressed in an absurdly elaborate alien wedding gown. Zyra. Mate! I have prepared myself for our first day as husband and wife. Protagonist. Why are you in a wedding dress? Zyra. Because today is our honeymoon. Protagonist. We are not having a honeymoon. Zyra. Then when shall we begin our mating cycle? Protagonist. Oh my God! His roommates are watching from the kitchen, eating cereal, clearly enjoying every second of this disaster. Roommate 1. Man, alien romance is so fast-paced. Roommate 2. You gonna kiss your bride or what? Protagonist. I will kill you both. Zyra suddenly gasps, eyes going wide. Zyra. Oh, I understand now. You are shy. Protagonist. No. Zyra. Yes, you wish for me to take the lead. Protagonist. No. Zyra throws the bouquet at him. It hits him directly in the face. Zyra. It is done. We are fully wed. The protagonist slowly removes the flowers from his face. Protagonist. Zyra, please. There has to be a way to break this without dying. Zyra taps her chin, thinking. Zyra. Well, there is one way. Protagonist. Yes. Yes, let's do that. Zyra. We must travel to my homeworld and petition the High Priestess for an annulment. Protagonist. Yes. Perfect. Where is your homeworld? Zyra. Oh, very close. Protagonist. Oh, thank God. Zyra. Just a 6-month journey across the void sea, through 3 war zones, and into the heart of the celestial maw. Beat. Protagonist. I'm gonna be sick. Roommate 1. Yeah, you're stuck, dude. Roommate 2. Congrats on the marriage, man. Hope you guys have lots of space babies. The protagonist falls to his knees, defeated. Zyra happily claps. Zyra. I am so happy. We shall be very strong mates. She leans down, whispering lovingly. Zyra. I shall carry you if you refuse to walk. The protagonist screams internally. The protagonist stared at Zyra, his new accidental wife, as she happily packed a bag the size of a refrigerator. It had been less than 24 hours, and his life had already spiraled into cosmic madness. He turned to his alien roommates, who were, as expected, no help at all. So let me get this straight. He gestured wildly at Zyra, who was currently folding an enormous alien nightgown into her bag. I have to travel across the galaxy, risk death, and personally beg some mystical space priestess just to be single again? His roommate crunched loudly on a protein bar. Yeah, basically. The protagonist clenched his jaw. No loopholes? No fine print? Zyra perked up. Well, there is one more way, but it is risky. He immediately latched onto it. Yes. Good. Risky is fine. What is it? Zyra hesitated, then whispered, If you were to prove yourself an utterly undesirable mate in the eyes of my people, they would revoke the bond. The protagonist blinked. Wait. So you're saying, if I act like the worst husband ever, they'll divorce me? Zyra nodded solemnly. Yes, but it must be truly shameful. You must disgrace yourself in such a way that they would rather sever our bond than allow it to continue. A slow, wicked grin crept across the protagonist's face. I can do that. Within an hour, he had transformed himself into the worst possible husband. He slouched aggressively, scratching his stomach in public. He chewed loudly with his mouth open, making exaggerated slurping sounds. He developed an unnatural attachment to a filthy old bathrobe that smelled like feet and despair. Hey, babe, he grunted at Zyra while shoving an entire donut into his mouth. Guess what I did today? Zyra blinked. What, mate? He pointed proudly to the sink, which was now overflowing with every single dirty dish he could find. Left all my dishes unwashed. Ain't that hot? Zyra gasped, eyes wide with horror. She turned to the roommates. Is this normal human behavior? One roommate wiped away tears of laughter. Oh yeah. He's doing great. The other one barely contained himself. This is peak human courting. The protagonist leaned back and let out a long, dramatic burp. Zyra shuddered. But she didn't give up. And my mate, perhaps you are simply tired. You need the touch of your wife. She reached out, but the protagonist dodged with expert skill. Nah, he said, grabbing a bag of chips and pouring them directly into his mouth, crumbs flying everywhere. I'm real busy today. Got some top-tier human activities lined up. She perked up. Oh, may I join? He grinned. Oh, you really want to see what a human husband does in his free time? Zyra nodded. Big mistake. First, he introduced Zyra to the ultimate test of patience and suffering, watching hours of human reality TV. He sprawled across the couch in his filthy bathrobe, flipping through shows with glazed-over eyes. "Ah, yes," he muttered. "This season of Trash Island is a masterpiece." On the screen, overly muscular men and fake-tanned women screamed at each other over who stole their protein powder. Zyra looked horrified. Are these your most revered warriors?" she whispered. "In a way," he deadpanned. She physically flinched as two contestants started wrestling in a pool of neon slime. But she held strong. "You are testing me, mate. I will not break so easily." The protagonist gritted his teeth. Damn it. She's tougher than I thought. He needed the nuclear option. Next up, The sock ritual. The protagonist removed his socks. Then, without hesitation, he threw them onto the floor, inside out, crusty as hell. Zyra stared at them. Then at him. Then back at them. "Why would you? Just leave them there," she whispered, voice trembling. "Because I can," he said, scratching his belly like some kind of barbarian. Her hands twitched. "Inmate, the laundry bin is right there." He shrugged. She broke. "And no!" Zyra lunged and grabbed the socks, cradling them like wounded animals. "How can a mate be so sloppy?" The protagonist bit back a victorious grin. He was winning. But just when he thought he had finally shattered Zyra's will, she flipped the game on him. After a week of his deliberate slob behavior, Zyra seemed strangely unfazed. In fact, she had started copying him. He walked into the kitchen one morning to find Zyra in her own filthy robe, slouching over a bowl of sugar-packed alien cereal, chewing with her mouth open. "Morning, babe," she mumbled through an entire mouthful of food. The protagonist froze. Zyra grinned. "I have accepted our way of life, mate. I am now your perfect wife," she belched. The protagonist felt fear. His roommates lost it. One of them actually fell over laughing. "Oh my God, she's out-humaning you." Zyra scooped peanut butter out of the jar with her bare hands. "Look, mate! I did not wash my hands either." The protagonist stared in horror. He had created a monster. His own tactics had been used against him. "No," he whispered. "This is not how this was supposed to go." Zyra smirked. "I shall be your equal in all things, husband." The protagonist felt his very soul collapse. The protagonist sat at the edge of his bed, staring blankly at the floor. Zyra was humming happily in the other room, munching loudly on snacks like some kind of gremlin. His plan had backfired spectacularly. He had set out to be the worst husband in the galaxy, to gross her out so badly that she would annul their bond. Instead, he had created the ultimate slob wife. A space goblin, if you will. His alien roommates had been zero help. One of them had already declared Zyra an honorary human, while the other was setting up a betting pool on how long it would take before the protagonist cracked. He needed a new strategy. Something so repulsive, so utterly repugnant, that Zyra would have no choice but to reject him as a mate. His gaze flickered to his phone. It was time for his final weapon. "Hey, Zyra," he called out. "Come here. I want to show you something very important to human culture." Zyra perked up immediately. "Oh, more mate rituals. I am eager to learn." She bounced onto the bed next to him. He turned his phone towards her. The screen lit up. An ungodly video started playing, an hours-long compilation of the worst chewing sounds imaginable. Slurping, smacking, aggressive lip-smacking. Some guy just huffing into the mic while eating gelatin. Maximum, pure, unfiltered disgust. Zyra immediately recoiled. "No!" she shrieked, clutching her ears. "What is this cursed audio?" The protagonist grinned. "This?" He turned up the volume. "This is human entertainment. We listen to this for fun." Zyra screamed. She launched off the bed, knocking over a pile of his dirty laundry. "ULIE! No species could enjoy such horror." He maintained eye contact and took a slow, deliberate sip from a can of soda into the mic. The hissing carbonation, the exaggerated gulp, the deep exhale. Zyra turned pale. "Husband," she whispered, "surely you are not beyond saving?" He took another sip. She fled the room. But even after that assault on her senses, Zyra refused to break. If anything, she doubled down. By the next morning, she was ready. "Husband, I have been inspired by your deep connection to human customs. I, too, have found something for you." She grabbed his hand with enthusiasm. He had a very bad feeling about this. Minutes later, he found himself seated in front of a mysterious alien contraption. It was a headset. Zyra beamed with pride. This, mate, is an ancient tradition among my people. The ultimate compatibility test. If we truly belong together, we will last 3 hours through this experience. The protagonist frowned. Experience? What kind of experience? Zyra hit the switch. The headset blared alien frequencies straight into his skull. He flinched violently. What is this? Zyra smiled serenely. This is the sound of my people's traditional romantic singing. It was horrifying. A bizarre, wailing cacophony that sounded like a whale having an exorcism inside a metal garbage can. The protagonist clawed at the headset. Turn it off. No. Zyra gripped his hands, forcing him to endure it. We must bond, my mate. Feel the passion, the intimacy. The alien song hit a new, unspeakable pitch. The protagonist screamed. His roommates collapsed in laughter. He thrashed. This is torture. No, mate, Zyra whispered, smiling. This is love. The protagonist barely survived the ordeal. By the time the song mercifully ended, he was a broken man. He lay limp on the couch, staring at the ceiling. Zyra cuddled against him, sighing in satisfaction. You are truly strong, mate. No other male would have lasted through such intimacy. He was too weak to argue. He had failed. Zyra was never leaving. His alien roommates had been right all along. The more he resisted, the stronger she became. That night, Zyra curled up beside him, completely at peace. The protagonist stared at the ceiling, dead inside. His life was never going to be normal again.